Hi guys, welcome to the Better Podcast. Another week, another great interviewee. I'm so excited. Kaito. My bestie is here. Yes. Okay. So, today we're going to be interviewing an amazing individual, right? She's the person that in my front, I've only known her for like 4 or 5 years, right? But in my very before, she got a MBA, she got a mini degree. She got like you understand. Somebody has already gone to school and is going to do MBA, doing CXL mini degree, doing all that. Like that's the type of person that she is, right? Extremely resilient, extremely hardworking, extremely ambitious, extremely lovable, extremely kind and sweet. And I'm so excited. I'm so like, do you understand? You know those people that need to make sure that you keep them in your corner so that when they blow, you can say, that's my friend. I know her. Exactly. That's the person we have on the table today. Please, with emojis in the chat box, in the comment section, so that you can know that my bestie is in town. Right? Let's welcome Emanuela Awogu.
That introduction was for me. Wow.
That's how I do. That's how I do.
Good.
Right. So thank you for coming to the Better Podcast. And of course, for the people who are just joining us for the first time, you need to know that the Better Podcast is the podcast to make you better. Right? But we do it in a very interesting way. We ensure that we're telling you stories that are relatable to you. People that are just like you and me, telling us their stories and how they can help you become better. So if this sounds interesting to you, stick around. Okay. So we're here. As in, it has been a long time coming in it.
Yeah. So proud of you.
I'm so proud of you.
Finally.
I know.
Decided to do this.
How many years have I been saying I'm going to do this podcast?
In fact, since I knew you,
Yes.
I need to do this podcast. We need to start this. Like, just do it.
Just start.
Just do it.
I hear you.
And finally, no turning back.
Love it. Okay. So let's go back to serious, right? All right. So I want to know. I mean, there are things I know about you, but today on air, right? We'd like to know some things that make you
Set up.
right? Right, guys. Always have a camera, right? So that we can kind of figure out what can make us ambitious. We don't want to be basic, right? If you've already seen the title, you know that this video is about not being basic. And this is, please just zoom in on the skincare. You understand?
Before you will tell me tomorrow
Exactly.
that my skin is not skinning.
Exactly. So
All
what
right.
I'm trying to say is, honestly, coming correct is a hard thing. People think that, it just happens. But it actually takes work, and it takes the brains behind the work, right? So we want to go back to the very beginning. What would you say was your earliest childhood memory?
Well, childhood for me was exciting. I had a disciplinarian father and a very ambitious mom. Right, my dad was a school principal, so he always wanted us to come correct. You had to do things the right way. You had to read your book, you had to study. Just tell my dad, Daddy, I'm staying back in school today because I want to read. Okay.
Good job.
So that was the MO. So I grew up very early, and I found out that you have to always be disciplined. You have to always put your best foot forward, because the truth is, so many people don't want to do some things because they just feel like, it's a lot of work, a lot of stress. But if you want to be exceptional, you have to be willing to do what other people are not willing to do, and that's going the extra mile. Don't live your life on autopilot. And that was something I realized very early, and I think that has shaped who I am today.
Okay, so can you just give us like a memory of your dad and you? Something that it always comes to your mind, random anything that you
Hey, this one is not, Daddy, I love you. I know you're watching me from heaven.
Right.
Blow me kisses. So I remember then, I would do this very random thing. I would pick out like companies and write to them that, I want to be your ambassador. I'll write letters to them and stuff. And one day my dad was like, come on, I don't understand. Is that how they used to be ambassador? You just sit down, write letter and say you want to be ambassador. He said, see, you have to put in the work. That's not what you're supposed to do. And one day he gave me the shock of my life. He said, see, you cannot write Go and learn how to write.
Oh my
I said, my chest. So that was like, I don't know, it was a major challenge for me. Like, I cannot write. Really? So nobody will read this thing. I want to make you an ambassador. So it made me, start to read more. I needed to start writing more so that I could make my dad proud. So that thing is stuck for the longest time. Yeah.
So that's like literally in your childhood, and that's usually the hardest time for that to happen when somebody tells you the truth.
Yeah, how moment.
Like
same way he told me, you cannot sing. because and that trauma, because one day I was a Catholic growing up, and I attended evening mass, and they said, okay, I was going to sing, I was going to lead the responsorial psalm that day. I was like, okay. As I was taking the responsorial psalm that day, I remembered when my father said, you cannot sing, and my voice went off key.
Oh my god!
You know when you're taking the responsorial psalm and somebody has to hold the mic and back you up?
Oh my god!
It was embarrassing, and that was the last time
Nice.
I left the choir.
Okay, so there are two sides to this coin. Let's go back. There are two sides to this coin. There's a point, right, where somebody needs to tell you hard truths so that you can grow. Right, and it's either you take two angles of it, which is like an example of two things that you just said, right?
Yeah.
So the first angle, you're like, I'm going to, double up and get better at it. And then this other angle of people, by the way, this is like a whole generation of people that will just say, you know what, I'm never doing this stuff again.
Never.
Do you understand? And it sometimes it counts on how much or how important it is to you, right? So we're going to talk about things that are important to you, right? As an individual, what would you say are like the three main things? Let's just streamline it, that are important to you.
So hard work is something that I hold in, very high esteem. I'm allowed to say that. And that is because, especially when you engage young people these days, you just find out that a lot of young people are not as deep. They don't have depth, no content. Like, people are just, oh, fashion, wig, human hair, let me make money. So that's why you have a lot of crime, you have a lot of prostitution and so many things happening, right? So when you find that in a whole generation you don't have a lot of people who have content, it inspired me to want to be different, because I'm like, I want to have conversations with people and they're like, that girl is deep. And that's something that I've experienced over time. I have conversations with people in their 40s, in their 50s, and they're saying, you don't sound like your age. So that keeps me going. So it has inspired or affected every area of my life. So you now see me wanting to, do things differently, read certain kind of things, be close to certain kind of people, just so that, I'm not the typical millennial. I'm not a Gen Z. Typical millennial out there. So that is something that has helped me over time.
Okay, so wanting to be different is kind of like a thing for you, right?
You
want to separate yourself.
Definitely.
Do you think that your feeling of wanting to be different is something that just comes naturally to you, or there's an experience that shaped that?
I would say experience. First of all, childhood, right? I had this thing growing up where our parents unconsciously, and of course they didn't mean any harm when they were doing it, they want to compare you with others. Like, is it not your mates that are coming first? Is it not your mates that are prefects? And because of that, I was a prefect too. Even they didn't give me head girls, they just give me library prefect. As well as there's prefect to my name, right? So it kind of like influenced a lot of things. So you just find out that you don't want to be that basic person. You just want to always be different. And so hard work is something that I hold very dear. Intentionality. I like people who are intentional about life, about work, which has also influenced the kind of person I've gotten married to, the kind of friends I have. I don't have a lot of friends, right? But we can be having a conversation and you just say one off point like this, and I just cancel you, like cancel culture.
It's okay.
I'm like, no, this one no follow.
Okay,
right?
So,
I like intentional people.
Yeah.
I like people who can inspire me. So if I talk to you or I work with you and you can't inspire me, I'm already like, what's the next thing? Let's just move on. Right, so that is something that is also very important to me. And finally, I would say that putting God in the mix of things is also very important, because there are so many decisions that I would have taken in life that God just said, hey, my dear. And in that moment I was like, oh my God. But then later on, when I see how things have played out, I'm like, oh my God, God really helped me to dodge a bullet. Even with my career, my work, even the person I got married to, I'm like, oh my God, God has been guiding me all along, right? So those are three things that stand out.
Wow, hard work, intentionality, and God.
Yeah.
Only you can't just do, a few great.
You asked for
Like,
3. Do you want more?
just be like other things, won't be something. Right. Anyway, but the point is, you see, so I mean, and all of us, right? No matter how great your parents are, right? There's some trauma aspect of it that is going to change you for either left or right.
Yeah.
Right. And picking the other side is something that it doesn't happen a lot. So it's different. Do you understand? So like somebody else will take that situation now and I say, you compared me, that means that I'm worse than everybody. And I start to
let me share an experience with you. Okay. So when I finished school, I was job hunting, right? And that moment, you know how when you're preparing for work and you are watching YouTube videos, tell me about yourself, like beautiful. I'm like, okay, no problem. So eventually I got invited for an interview. I came from Ikorodu that day. I can never forget. I wore a very pretty red dress. I'm not going to mention the person because I know you all will know this person. So let me just save him the shame. So I went for this interview and I stepped in there with all confidence, like, okay, come in, tell me about yourself. His PA was there. And I was like, yes, tell me about yourself. I gave him the memo. I downloaded my passion, my everything. And then he was like, okay, fine. Next thing, Baba shifted focus. Started asking me things that current affairs. Started asking me things that I was like, oh my God. I started to stutter. He was like, when somebody humiliates you to the point where you now feel like you are worthless. He was interviewing me and he put his head down like this and he couldn't look me in the eye. Even the PA that was like, was doing me like this. Calm down. A tear dropped. I was so uncomfortable. It made me feel so terrible. Even the ones I knew, I couldn't respond anymore. I was just like, and then after everything, when someone else says, how do you want to impact the world? You need to impact yourself first. Inspire yourself first before you inspire others. I was broken. And then after everything, says, tell me how much you want to earn. And I'm like, earn fire. He just said, okay, just go, we'll get back to you. Just wait outside. From there, I stormed out of the place. And I think that experience made me feel very terrible. I cried for days. I kept thinking about it. Can I be so stupid? But it did something for me, right? It made me promise myself that will never happen again. And that also influenced how I started preparing. I always want to be over prepared for everything. Before this podcast, I kept asking her, send me the questions. She said no. So I think it's something. So you see me for the littlest thing, I would over prepare because I don't want anybody to humiliate me. Just like fear of failure. But yeah, that experience, that man. After a few years, I chatted him to say, Oga, remember this girl from? I don't blame. What? I said that thing that you did, it has actually helped me to be better. And somebody else might have, gone the other route, maybe committed suicide or something, but not me. I came out stronger.
Why I really want to know what you think. Do you think that there's anything in you that makes you always choose to rise above? So anytime there's any form of humiliation, anything that pushes you down, that literally says, oh, you know what, you can't do this thing. Why do you have that need to prove them wrong?
First of all, I would say that God created me to shine. Right? He placed me there to shine.
Wait. We cannot pass by like this. You said God created her to shine.
I am the salt of the earth. So
please do.
Anything that makes me look stupid is like I am, misrepresenting my master. So I always make it a point of duty to say, so that people will ask, who is that person? What in they work that person? God. What is responsible for that person's behavior, attitude, success? And then I bring it back to God. So it's very important to me not to disappoint my father. And that is why I always strive to be better, different, just go over and beyond to do things so that, I represent him well,
Oh my God. I did not expect that answer, but thank you. Thank you so much for that because even me, I'm learning, right? Honestly, because I remember when I was younger, I used to say, like the name of my father, like the representation of my father. But there's a level of adulthood sometimes that you will reach that you will not even know that you are falling back into old patterns, right? And just looking at it, saying that God created you to shine, meaning that you literally are a representation of your fathers. And if you are shining, God is shining. You
Exactly.
understand? So if
Absolutely.
you are truly thinking about things in that regard, then lots of things will change for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on from that. So we want
Okay.
to enter other doors, other
Hey.
doors of your life, right?
Okay.
And the most interesting door is usually relationships. What do girls talk about when we enter a boy, right? So, and I'll talk about it. I want the origin story. So I
Okay.
want to know the frogs you kissed because we know we are married, but right. And I'm not saying it from an angle of who broke your heart and everything, but like, what do you think your personality has brought to relationships? So like in your past, what was your personality doing in those relationships? But in now, like even the more refined you, the married you, what is it like?
Okay. So in past relationships, I used to be somebody who was docile,
Hmm.
very not able to speak up for myself, not able to influence, right? The person would influence me. And dating, I dated a couple of people who were not exactly reflective of what God wanted for me, right? So you would see that this person starts to influence me. I started to do things that I wasn't really proud of, you know. But then growing up and coming to meet the person that I now am married to, my love, mwah, 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 I just found out that marriage is a ministry, and I need to be able to influence this person because my first ministry is my husband, my kids. Because those are the people that spend time with you, you're with them every day. So if you're not able to, give a part of you to them, then what are you doing there? So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to be able to influence my husband. So in the tiniest ways, right? Okay, I don't think you should do this way. I think you should talk to people better. I think you should put your best foot forward. And I mean, it's clear. Him even watching this video, he knows that life done better. So that is something that it was never me growing up, right? I just used to be, I was like, oh, I don't want this person not to love me. I don't want this person not to like me, a people pleaser. But now,
And we can dive that into that because there's a learning there in the sense that, so I mean, thinking about it in your childhood, you're like, you know what, daddy told me I can't do this thing, I'm
yeah,
gonna do it,
yeah.
right? But then when it came to love, for instance, you're not like, okay, whatever you say, right? What do you think was the reason for that?
So I think that trauma affected me. You know, that trauma of comparison to now make you feel that, oh, this person is more beautiful than I am. This person is smarter than I am. Because those little words that the parents say sometimes, they just feel like they're saying it. But it affects your self-esteem. You know, start feeling like, my father said this person
So maybe
God first. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe, oh, when I was younger, I used to be very smart. What happened to me? You know, so it now starts, bringing in self-doubt and all. So when you now get to the love angle, you now start saying, okay, let me behave a certain way so that this person doesn't, dislike me or make me feel like I'm not good enough and so. So those little voices actually influenced the person I became in relationships before I sat up and said, you know what, this doesn't make sense. And yeah, took the bold step.
And so what I'm trying to now see from this is that, so if, imagine, like literally in your life, somebody can be doing, you literally have the opposite, what should I say, the opposite mindset in terms of work, and then now have a different mindset in terms of relationship before you snap out of it.
Yeah.
So it means that it doesn't follow that if you are not basic in one angle of your life, that you will just not be basic in the other. You literally have to make the decision here
intentional
and here
about
and
every
here.
yeah.
Okay.
Very important.
Okay. So if that is the case, now let's take it into, and we need to speak about career in a depth, right? Right. So because in my very before you did the MBA with dollars, my brother, we did
Self-funded.
you understand? We did see salary, all of us at the same yard. You understand?
Yeah.
But then you went ahead because that's a leap that it's not that I can't do it too. It's that fear, the fear that will break me. Do you understand? And it takes a level of balls to do that, right? All of us, we join the same course group. Now only the people will come out with degree that help that. You understand? So what makes you able to finish strong? Because I remember, I think you were even pregnant when you were doing your MBA. Like you were doing a lot of things, and I'm like, me, I'm not able. that's why I was not even married. I'm not even. How is this person doing this thing?
Yeah.
Right. So what makes you able to handle it all, right? And then in terms of your career, what makes you take those bold steps? Like what?
I'm not even going to lie, right? So apart from the inbuilt motivation that
Yeah.
I've garnered over the years, taking it back to the ambassador of whom I am, right?
Yeah.
I think your support system also matters,
Okay.
right? I married an amazing person,
Yeah.
so he has been a major part of that journey because he
Okay.
keeps inspiring me. Like you can, and he's growing too. Like
Yeah.
he only him SIO, BIO,
You gotta
MMO,
check that link.
GHO,
Yeah, 10. I
CISO.
counted it.
Tell I'm counting.
Yes.
So when I see those kind of things, it
No
makes
face
me
me.
have like internal conversations with myself. Because another thing that is important in marriage, if one person is growing and the other person is not growing,
Yeah.
at the point
You
you
fall by
just
the wayside.
because even now I see things that my husband didn't necessarily care about before. He cares about them now. One day he told me like, "What are you wearing? You don't know that you are so bad." I say, "Hey!" Or he would tell me, your frontal, why is it showing this
Even
thing?
as a
Those are
frontalist.
things that he didn't used to care about. So exposure brings certain things. So in that sense, right, you think it's vain or it's carnal, but also in intellectuals, in
Yeah.
career, in growth,
Yeah.
you have to be able to match up. If not, the
Yeah.
person now becomes ashamed of you, and it might not
Yeah.
necessarily say it
You
that
want to do
way,
it, but
but
it's just happening.
in their mind is there.
Yeah.
So that has constantly made me on my toes because I'm like, my husband is growing, I
I
also
need
have
to
to grow.
grow.
If he sees so, at least me, I should be on my way to me
Yeah,
so.
bro.
That's what it comes to, by the way.
Oh,
So
lovely.
that has really really kept me on my toes. Yeah.
That's, I mean, thank God for ambitious of that. Right? Mario Kart. But the truth is, I mean, it takes a lot to do all those things and still be like a mother. Let's leave. Let's start.
Ah.
Let's go back. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, I know, no matter how feminist, pressy, whatever we want to say, right? Women still take the lion's share of the home, right, and
Absolutely.
kids and stuff like that. So, what do you think right now is your philosophy for balancing everything?
This question, I was praying you would never ask. Truth is, there can never really be a balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Something has to give
yeah,
at a point.
yeah.
So you need to decide, okay, for the first 3 years, for the first 2 years, I want to focus on this and I want
Yes.
to focus on that,
Okay.
right? And then just try your best to make sure that the ball doesn't drop to the extent where it now becomes an issue. Because honestly, tell me how it's possible for you to be killing it at the
At
office,
work,
being everywhere,
and
traveling
still
around
being
the
the best
world,
mom.
and still be the best mom or the best wife. So you just need
Yeah,
to put systems in place, which is something that I've tried to do,
yeah,
right? So having like a good support system,
yeah,
a good nanny, a good help,
yeah,
and then just having a husband that understands you to say,
yeah,
okay, I understand that my wife, luckily for me, my husband doesn't want a stay-at-home woman,
yeah, as well.
or so that ambition also drives both of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes you won't tell me, why are you stressed? Why don't you delegate this? I say, okay,
Mm.
it's coming
I'll
from you.
delegate.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So I think that has helped me. But honestly, motherhood is not easy, right?
Mm.
But you also know that the first few years of a child's life is very
Very
important.
important.
So you need to be there, you need to be
Yeah.
present. So, and there are jobs that give you the opportunity to, be flexible.
Mm.
Okay, let me give some time to my children. So
Mm.
you need to
Work
find
from
that
home, all
balance.
those things.
Work from home. So you need to find that balance. But honestly, it's not easy. You
Mm.
need a good support system, a good husband, a good help, and just generally a community that helps you do better.
Mm. Okay, so we're going right around, right? So we can go back. We've spoken about, and that's why I like to go around, right? We've spoken about your childhood. We've spoken about your your original love life versus new love
Yeah.
life, right? We've spoken about your career. Right now, let's bring it back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is within you, like who you are now as a person? What would you say? So if and we can do it with simple, we can do it with simple angles so that it doesn't stress you out. Just say who are you generally, right? What would you say that you are most proud of in your life right now?
Before I answer that, I'd like to say something, right? So initially, And I think getting to know yourself is very important,
Very
because
important.
the person that I thought I was is not the person that I am. And you know how sometimes values don't align. You feel like these are my values, but when you now see somebody exhibiting those things, you're like,
I don't do that.
I don't think, because initially I used to think, for example, that I was the party type, jahe jahe type, da 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 da, beautiful exuberance. But then when I see people doing, I'm like, what is this childish thing that this person is doing? What is this display of? So, and so many things have happened like that over the years that just make me feel like you're actually not who you thought you were. So you need to find the time to really embrace yourself and figure out who you are, which is why sometimes they will tell you before you get married, right, know who you are first, because I got married pretty young, and I don't regret it in any way, but I have evolved, and I now know better who I am, right? And for example, I used to think I loved to take calls. I used to love people. I love people around me, but now it's so stressful when somebody says, I'm coming to visit you. I'm like, oh my god, what do I do?
Exactly.
It's like, just give me something else to do. Let me scrub the ground. It's so hectic. But that was something that I thought that was me. So I have learned so many things about myself that I just, that's evolved. Yeah.
Okay. So now, thinking back from what you're saying, now that you are even, and of course, it's layers, you're probably not discovered to the end. But like what you've discovered of yourself, what do you think is the thing you're proudest, most proud of your life right now?
Without a doubt, I would say my husband and kids, and being able to influence them. You give birth to a child, the child is a tabula rasa, and then the child growing up, you see some things that the child displays, and you're like, oh my god, I did that with the help of God, of course. Right. So just being able to replicate myself and influence my husband, because when I met him, he said no that he's not the same person now, right? Seeing some of the things, the values that I've been able to, impact him with and all, it just makes me feel like a success. Not all the money or all the career success. That is also something, to be proud of, but that inner space to say, oh, we've evolved over time. We've gone through from here and, we've become this. There's still so much to be done, but, that progress, I think, really makes me proud and happy.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, and we can see. So funny, right? We literally are like, oh, you know what? This is our career, babe, blah blah. And then you're like, the thing I'm most proud of is my family. Which is a paradox, but it's a great thing, because people usually think that you have to be some level of thing outside, and that is what matters. But actually, when push comes to shove, boy, career goes down or you die, literally people are going to be with you and your family. Right. So we're not just going to go to advice, right? There are people out there right now. They are like me and you when we were younger, right? We had dreams, we had ambitions. I wanted to do a podcast 4 years ago. 4 years after,
she's doing it now.
Right. But the fact that we are doing it is a great thing. Like, it's a step forward. They have all these dreams, ambitions. They even have patterns of even being able to do some little things, but they don't know what future is going to be like. Probably they are even self-limiting beliefs and things that people have told them, you can never do this, you can't do that, and they are in between the intersection of going left and saying, you know what, since I can't do it, that's who I am, right? Or going right and saying, let me go ahead and change the world. What do you say to that kind of person right now?
So the first thing I would say is always go back to your maker, right? It's just like buying a spoon and you're using the spoon to pound yam, right? It doesn't make sense. It might do the work, but eventually that's not what that spoon was made for, right? But when you go back to the manual, then you are able to understand what your true purpose is and connect to it. Because honestly, anything that you're doing outside of the purpose of God, right, is Jara. You're just wasting time. Eventually you come back. So that's like the first thing, because I kept asking God, I want to know what my purpose is. I want to know what my purpose is. And fine, even though he did not expressly come and say your purpose but I just found out that in the little experiences, in the daily encounters, the people that I was meeting, the kind of conversations I was having, even the teams that he brought me to, he was just making everything align. So that's the first step. Secondly, you need to tell yourself that I'm going to do what other people are not willing to do. And that's one thing that I always like to say to myself. Anything anybody says, you cannot do this thing, or anything that I'm scared of, I would do it. And I found out that those things that I was scared of doing, maybe imposter syndrome. When I eventually do them, I'm like, oh my God. So this is what devil wanted to deny me of. And it still goes back to that initial response I gave when I said that you are an ambassador of somebody, right? So you should always strive to make that person proud. Always strive to make God proud. Let people see you and be like, they see light. So I'll just say that, strive to be better. Strive to be different. Don't just be like every other person. Don't live your life on autopilot. Nah, it will never work.
If I'm to take like the depth of your words, is strive to be different, right? And also shine to make God proud.
Absolutely.
Right? Let him be a great ambassador of your father. Right? But I want to dig deeper into like striving to be different because everybody, there are so many people that are just willing to be followers. They're just willing to just do what everybody else is doing.
It's convenient to be a follower. It's very convenient. No ambition. Let me just be going like that. It's very convenient. But the truth of the matter is that like that, on that path, you can never be anything deep. You can never be anything extraordinary. You just fit in and just be there. But when you decide that, you know what, I'm going to take risk. I'm going to do what other people are not willing to do. I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to give you an example. So at work, right, I wanted to do a presentation and the data I needed, the company was not willing to give me access to that data. But I knew that if I come and present that thing without the data, I will be the one that will look stupid. Nobody's going to say, oh, the company did not. What did I do? I tapped into my resources. I had to call people. Oh, please, I need data for this. Please, and eventually I got it. Right. Even though eventually, the presentation didn't make them get the tool I needed, but it earned me respect. Right. It earned me respect of people that mattered. Even till tomorrow, people will say, anything, Ella will go the extra mile. Ella will do it. Ella will do it. But it took me knowing that I didn't want to embarrass myself. And I wanted to do what other people, because somebody else would have just said, they didn't give me data now, just give you the bare minimum. But I said no, I needed to dig deeper. And I think that is such an important place to be. So don't be regular nah.
Don't be regular. So I got the tagline, do what others are not willing to do. Like literally. And like it's so simple, but it's so difficult.
It's deep.
It's very deep.
And if you apply that principle to every area of your life, you just find out that you just start shining. You're just different, because like a normal person will stop here, but I want to do extra because this is not what so it's
perfect.
Yeah.
So there's one more thing that we want to know. All right. I mean, right now it looks like superwoman, you're the best, but obviously everybody goes through challenges, everybody goes through struggles. Can you like give us an example or a moment, a story, anything, a memory of a moment that you're just going to give up on all this strong girl shit? You're just going to give up on all this, best skincare, best everything, like, and you're just like, I'm tired of this. Or a moment that it was close for you, like you were really, really struggling. Just give us that moment and tell us how you were able to come out of it.
A million things are going through my head right now, but some might be too deep for the camera.
Okay.
But let me just say that I think when I had my first child, right, I had her during COVID, and I wasn't fine. Before I had her, I was like, God, please, I need a child, putting myself under pressure for nothing. But when the child eventually came, I was like, you really need to be prepared for childbirth. It's not something that you just say, let me just do it because it sounds good to be a mom. Childbirth shook me. It shook me. And coming out from that, being sick, going through all the 9 yards of, deep, intense pressure, ill health and everything, and just coming back, I was like, hey, where do I start from? I wanted to give up. Like, where do I start from? How do I go from this back into work? Start navigating the child. And for us women, there's something that happens when you deliver, you have a child, and you're struggling. All of the pressure that comes from that, the emotions, like your body, your mind. I remember like 2 weeks after I had that baby, my husband got up, dressed up, and said he was going out for a party.
You have strength.
And I was like, hey, Lord. I felt so bitter. I felt so emotional. I felt like my life was literally just passing me by. right? So that was like a very deep emotional time. But I think that again, just knowing that that situation wasn't permanent, and it came from that still small voice, which obviously will be God, because He had to be the one to tell me, you know what, girl, just come out of this thing. I have so much that you will do for me and achieve for me. So I had to just make that conscious decision to say, you know what, just calm down. This is a phase. Go through it now, and eventually you come out. And I came out of it, and went for a second and even a third.
Look at you, Mama Tree.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if, we don't know. Some people are just saying, "I'm not doing it again. I'm out of this. We've done we've done our part."
I remember saying then that I didn't want to have any more kids.
Yeah,
but
look at you now.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I think the story or the hook to hold there is nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
First of all,
no situation is permanent.
No situation is permanent. So no matter how bad the situation is, you can literally get out of it. Yeah. And also, it takes you getting out of it.
Yeah.
And so even if it's, and that's where God comes in, like you having a superior power that helps you to say, okay, hello, come back.
It's time.
You know, because if like there's nothing anybody wants to tell you, for instance, when you're depressed or sad, that will make sense. No matter how much you love them.
Because it's just like, what are you saying?
Do you know my story? Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know my story. But God knows your story, right?
Yeah.
And that is at least one person that can take you out of yourself.
Absolutely.
And let you be a bit objective.
Absolutely.
But I love what you said there. It wasn't permanent. Like, no matter how much the struggle is.
The only thing permanent is eternity.
Right? Right? So make it there.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful for, like, everything. I'm grateful to have you as a friend. I'm grateful that you're here today.
Aww.
I'm grateful. But I just want you to tell just one thing that you want us to end this podcast with. Just want, if they did not learn anything from what they just we just gave them, one thing you want somebody who watched this video to hold on to.
You watching this video right now, I want you to know that you are an ambassador for Christ, and He has sent you and put you on this earth to shine. So wherever you go, you're gonna shine. I'm gonna shine, and together we're gonna make the world a better place.
Wait. But it's so apt that you're saying you're going to shine with all this glow, right? But yeah, thank you so much for coming to the please.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Yeah. And I must say this, I'm super proud of you for eventually taking the leap and doing this. This is like your fourth guest, fourth episode, and it's been a hit back to back. If you haven't seen the other episodes, please go and see the one she did with her husband. You know? Just go back and watch, and the conversations are very, very educative. So yeah, well done. I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. I'm blushing. All right, so we come to the end of this episode. If you made it to this, you know now you're the real MVP. Thank you for coming. Please make sure that you check out all the other videos that are here.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share with your friends and your family. The gist is always ready for you. Do you understand? There's more gist coming. So definitely you want to keep coming back for the gist, right? So that was it on the Better Podcast. Today we learned that nothing is permanent. Your problem is not permanent. You understand? And we learned that you should shine because you're an ambassador of your Father, God. So if you're an ambassador, shine for me, shine. Put the shine emojis in the chat box, right? And we also learned that life is a journey that all of us are taking to get better. So make sure that you are better every single day, right? So tell them bye.
Bye.
Bye.